Billy Paultz is one of the best centers in ABA history. Even though he never put up dominant numbers, he always played within his role, doing whatever was necessary to help the team win. He had a solid post game, including a nice running hook going across the lane. He was a great mid-range shooter, a great screen setter, and a better passer than people gave him credit for. Although he wasn't the best athlete, he held his own on defense, owning the boards and offering elite rim protection. Billy's somewhat pudgy build earned him the nickname of the Whopper, and after a decent career at St. John's, he was picked in the 7th round in 1970 by the San Diego Rockets, but he decided to join the New York Nets. Billy was a walking double-double from the get-go, providing relief for the eventual rival of Dr. J, helping the Nets win the championship in 1974. During his time in the ABA, he made 4 All-Star games, even leading the league in blocks in his final season. After the merger, Billy became a solid role player in the NBA for another decade. He wasn't a franchise center, but he did a little bit of everything on the court, and his likable personality made him a well-respected player over his entire career. Welcome to PC Hoops, and this is another episode of ABA Tales. Billy was born July 30th, 1948 in Midrange, New Jersey. As a teen, he had a mentor that took him to witness the rising street ball scene at Rucker Park. Playing against future pros like Ollie Taylor, Mike Reardon, and of course Dr. J, Billy gained a lot of confidence in his game. Despite only playing 1 year of ball at Riverdale High, the 6'11" Billy moved on to Cameron Junior College in Oklahoma. He averaged 10 points and 5 rebounds on 48% shooting, winning a JUCO national title. Billy had contacts in the New York area, so he was already on the radar of Lou Carnesecca, the coach at St. John's. So it was a no-brainer that Billy would play for the Redmen. He joined a talented squad that featured standouts like John Warren and Joe Dupree. Billy had a limited role in the team, but he was third in rebounding. The Redmen had a defensive identity, finishing 23-6. Billy averaged 8 points and 7 rebounds as St. John's faced Princeton in their first NCAA tournament game. Billy dropped 5 points and 3 rebounds off the bench in a 9-point win. He had a small role in their next game against Davidson, fouling out with 4 points and 4 rebounds in a 10-point loss. In the third place game against Duquesne, Billy finally got an opportunity and he showed out, dropping 24 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists on 9 of 16 shooting, but they still lost by 3. Billy became a starter in 1969, and he had a much bigger role in the offense, becoming a consistent double-double machine, ranking 9th in the nation in total rebounds. The Redmen's defense allowed the 7th fewest points, finishing the season at 21-8. In his junior season, Billy averaged 16 points and 14 rebounds as St. John's qualified for the NIT. He dropped 15-17 in the 4th game of the tournament against Marquette, but they lost by double digits. Billy left college after this year, as he was drafted by the San Diego Rockets and the Virginia Squires. He opted to play in Virginia, but during the offseason, he was traded to the New York Nets for a draft pick and cash. This move also made sense, since Lou Carnesecca was a new headman in town. Fellow Redmen John Dupree and Sonny Dove joined Billy on the team, but Rick Barry was the unquestioned leader, while Bill Melchione was the floor general. Billy started from day one, and he was playing extremely well, dropping 23 points and 13 rebounds on 10 of 14 shooting in his 4th career game. 2 games later, he dropped 22 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists. He put up a season-high 30 points and 14 rebounds on 13 of 19 shooting on March 6 against Carolina. Billy had 43 double-doubles, ranking 11th in rebounding and 9th in true shooting percentage. Rick and Bill were both top 10 in MVP voting, but New York gave up as many points as they scored, finishing with a 40-44 record. Billy averaged 15 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists. The Nets faced the Squires in the division semifinals as he put up 21 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 assists in his playoff debut, but the Nets lost by 8. He dropped a double-double in 4 out of the next 5 games, but New York lost the series in 6. The Nets made some new additions in 1971, signing John Roche and Trooper Washington. Billy was putting up similar numbers compared to his rookie year to start the season. On December 17th against Dallas, he dropped 27 points and 33 rebounds, a still-standing franchise record. He actually out-rebounded the entire Dallas team in this game. On March 9th against Virginia, he put up 18 points, 25 rebounds, and 4 blocks. He had 50 double-doubles, finishing 7th in rebounding and 15th in field goal percentage. Rick was 2nd in scoring, while Bill led the league in assists. The Nets really didn't improve that much from last season, but a 44-40 record was still solid. Billy averaged 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 1.5 assists, as the Nets faced the Colonels in the semifinals. He was a consistent double-double machine in this series, and while his efficiency was lower than normal, the Nets finished Kentucky off in 6 games. The Squires met them in the division finals, as Billy really upped his production, dropping 23-14 in Game 3, 26-16 in Game 5, and 33 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 blocks in Game 6. He didn't come off the court in Game 7, putting up 18 points, 24 rebounds, and 3 assists to help New York clinch a trip to the ABA Finals, facing the powerhouse Indiana Pacers. Billy was playing great in this series as well, especially in Game 4, with 30 points and 18 rebounds, shooting 12 of 15 from the floor. The series was tied after 4 games, but New York lost Game 5 by 1 point and Game 6 by 3 points, as they watched Indiana celebrate a championship on their home floor. The 1972 Nets look a lot different, as Rick left to go back to the NBA. They brought in George Carter to replace his scoring, as rookies Brian Taylor and Jim Chones were signed as well. Billy received a larger role in the offense this year, and he would prove to be one of the better big men in the league. On October 29th against Dallas, he put up 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 blocks. January 17th against Virginia saw him drop 11 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 blocks. He dropped his only career triple-double on February 2nd against Dallas with 18 points, 20 rebounds, and 11 blocks. He was rewarded with his first All-Star appearance, ranking 3rd in rebounds and blocks. Brian won the Rookie of the Year, while Bill was the top passer again, and George led the team in scoring. The Nets were still a weak team though, as he had the lowest scoring offense in the league, but in a 10-team league, a 30-54 finish was still enough for a playoff berth. Billy averaged 17 points, 12.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 2.5 blocks. They faced the Cougars in the semifinals, as Billy averaged a double-double on 61% shooting for the series, but the Nets were eliminated in a Game 5 blowout loss. The Doctor arrived in New York in 1973, making them instant title contenders. Rookie Larry Keenan gave Billy a new partner in the front court, but even though Julius led the league in shot attempts, Billy's role in the offense didn't change. On November 28th against San Diego, he broke out for a career-high 38 points, along with 19 rebounds, 2 steals, and 5 blocks. He had another All-Star season with 41 double-doubles, 4 games with at least 5 assists, and 4 games with at least 5 blocks. Dr. J won the MVP, while Larry and John Williamson had great rookie seasons. Reserve guard Mike Gale made the first team all-defense, as the Nets finished 55-29. Billy averaged 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. His production dipped slightly in the playoffs, but the Nets only lost once in the first 2 rounds, easily getting past Kentucky and Virginia. They were back in the finals, facing the Stars. He put up his usual numbers, but he saved his best for last, dropping 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 steals in the series-clinching Game 5. Billy was now a champion. The Nets looked primed to repeat in 1975, as Billy started the season playing the most efficient ball of his career to that point. He even had a 5-game stretch in November averaging 24 points and 11 rebounds on 60% shooting. He put up a season-high 30 points and 9 rebounds on 12 of 18 shooting against the Pacers on December 21st. His third straight All-Star season saw him drop 36 double-doubles, 10 games with at least 5 assists, and 9 games with at least 3 blocks. Dr. J won another MVP, while Brian Taylor led the league in steals. The Nets still improved from last year, finishing 58-26, as Billy averaged 16 points, 9.5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1.5 blocks. New York played Kentucky in the tiebreaker for the first seed, but Billy only played 14 minutes in this game, leading to New York losing by 9 and having to settle for the second seed. But they still seemed to have a favorable matchup with the Spirits. Billy had a career performance in Game 1, dropping 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 blocks on 11 of 12 shooting in a 6-point win. But the Nets would collapse, losing 4 straight, with Billy really struggling, shooting just 26% in Games 4 and 5 as New York was eliminated a lot earlier than expected. Coach Kevin Lowry felt that Julius had too much offensive responsibility last season, and one of the biggest reasons for that was due to Billy's weight gain. He had gotten up to 265 pounds, as his teammates even called him the Whopper. Larry and Mike were sent to the Spurs, as with the addition of Sven Nader, Billy would join them too, being traded for Kim Hughes, Rich Jones, Chuck Terry, and Bob Warren. He joined a talented starting lineup in San Antonio that featured Larry Keenan, George Gervin, James Silas, and Mark Oberding, and he would have arguably the best season of his career. Billy nearly had a 5-by-5 game on December 6th against St. Louis, with 20 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 4 blocks. He dropped the season-high 34 points along with 7 rebounds and 3 assists, shooting 14 of 17 on January 9th against Indiana. He had 46 double-doubles, ranking in the top 15 in points, rebounds, assists, and field goal percentage, while leading the league in blocks. He was one of 4 All-Stars for the Spurs, as he finished 50-34, with Billy averaging 17 points, 10.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. He had a chance for revenge against his former team in the semifinals. He dropped 20 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 blocks in Game 2, and 28 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in Game 4, as the series was tied after 4 games. He had just 6 points in the Game 5 loss, and 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 blocks in a narrow Game 6 win. He had 17-9 in Game 7, but the Spurs lost by 7 and were eliminated. The Spurs didn't change much in their first NBA season, but an injury to James led to an inconsistency at the point guard position, leading to Matt Calvin and Louis Dampier filling in. Billy was still consistent though, as he dropped 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 blocks on 12 of 15 shooting in his NBA debut. On February 27th against New Orleans, he put up 31 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 blocks. The month of March was pretty productive for him, as he averaged 18 points, 9.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 2.5 blocks. Larry and George were the top 2 guys on the team, as the Spurs had the highest scoring offense in the league, but they did give up the most points, which was the usual occurrence for a team coached by Doug Moe. Their 48-34 record was enough for a first-round matchup with the Celtics. In his first NBA season, Billy averaged 16 points, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. He dropped 14-10 in Game 1, but the Spurs lost by 10. He had a better performance in Game 2 with 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks on 6 of 10 shooting, but San Antonio lost that game again to be eliminated. James continued to struggle with injuries in 1977, so Louis was a stopgap again. Billy was still a solid player, dropping 27 points and 9 rebounds on 8 of 11 shooting in the second game of the season. On December 16th against Atlanta, he put up 24 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 9 blocks, along with 16 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, and 6 blocks on January 17th against the Sonics. Billy had 24 double-doubles, 15 games with at least 5 assists, and 8 games with at least 5 blocks. The Iceman won a historic battle against David Thompson for the scoring title, but the Spurs offense was essentially George, Larry, and Billy. But they were an elite trio, leading the Spurs to 52 wins. Billy averaged 16 points, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2.5 blocks. San Antonio met the Bullets in the semifinals, as Billy had a 3 for 11 shooting night in Game 1, but this was a win for the Spurs. He picked up his play over the next 3 games, but watched him win all 3 of these. His best performance was in Game 6, with 14 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 blocks, but the Bullets won and advanced. Billy's role would change in 1978, as although he was still a starter, he was sharing more minutes with Mike Green and Kobe Dietrich. James was finally healthy, so he was a much-needed piece. Billy was still extremely productive, even with his large drop in playing time. He dropped 8 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 7 blocks on October 28th against Detroit. His season high was a 28-point, 11 rebound, and 2 block performance, shooting 11 for 14 against San Diego. Billy had 19 double-doubles and was still top 20 in blocks. The Iceman led the league in scoring again, as the Spurs dropped 119 points a game, leading them to a 48-34 record. Billy averaged 12 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.5 blocks. He really struggled in the playoffs, shooting just 38% in the semifinals against the Sixers, but they came out victorious in Game 7, winning their first playoff series since their inaugural season as the Dallas Chaparrals. They had a chance for revenge against the Bullets in the conference finals, but Billy still couldn't find his shot, shooting 30% in the first 4 games. But the Spurs were up 3-1 in the series. However, they choked, losing the next 3 games as their best chance to make the finals slipped away. The Spurs regressed in 1979 as their defense almost gave up 120 points a game. Billy played even fewer minutes this season, but the Spurs were changing, as Mike Green and Kobe Dietrich were traded. Johnny Moore was waived, and Billy would be sent to the Rockets in January for John Shoemate in a 3rd rounder. Moses Malone was the engine that powered this team, so Billy was a reserve. He was still solid off the bench, dropping 9 double-doubles, including 28 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks in the season finale. The Rockets were an average team, but at 41-41, they were good enough to make the playoffs. Between the 2 teams, Billy averaged 9 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. Billy was the starter in the first round series against his former team, but he only played about 22 minutes a game. The Rockets won Game 3 in a blowout, facing the Celtics in the semifinals, but Boston was the better team, as Billy shot just 29% and the Rockets were convincingly swept. The Rockets continued to be mediocre in 1980, but Billy was buried on the bench. He would still show up in spurts, putting up a 5-game stretch averaging 14 points and 10 rebounds on 62% shooting. Rudy T got injured on Valentine's Day, so Billy was inserted into the starting lineup in his place. Moses did his usual work, while Calvin Murphy and Robert Reed provided a lot of scoring. They were still an inconsistent team, but their 40-42 finish was just enough to sneak into the playoffs. Billy averaged 7 points, 5 rebounds, and a block as the Rockets faced the Lakers in the first round. He started the postseason well with 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks in the Game 1 win. Houston won a nail-biter in Game 3 to stun the defending champs. He was a steady contributor in the second round against the Spurs, as he had his hands all over Game 7. Although he only shot 3 for 10, he dropped 10 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, as Houston won a tough battle on the road. The Kansas City Kings were in the middle of a surprise run to the conference finals, but Houston made easy work of them, as Billy dropped 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks, shooting 10 for 13 in Game 5. After an easy gentleman's sweep, they faced the mighty Celtics in the finals. Billy wasn't the most efficient to start out, but the series was tied after 4 games. But after this, the Celtics flipped the switch, winning Game 5 and 6 by double digits and celebrating the title on the Rockets' home floor. In 1982, Houston re-signed a 36-year-old Elvin Hayes, so Billy was deep on the bench again. He was only playing about 12 minutes a game, so his production dipped by a lot. He scored double figures only 5 times, with his best game being on April 14th against Denver, with 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Calvin was replaced as a starter by Allen Lavelle, so the Rockets' offense was terrible. Moses had to put the team on his back as he won the MVP for his efforts. Unfortunately, he didn't have a lot of help, but they still finished 46 and 36. Billy averaged 3 points and 3 rebounds as the Rockets faced the Sonics in the first round. Billy didn't have a huge role in this series, but the Rockets lost in 3 games to be eliminated. Moses left to join the Sixers in 1982, and Caldwell Jones was his replacement, so it was fair to say that Houston would struggle. Even with them fielding the worst team in the league this season, Billy was still deep in the rotation, dropping only 4 games in double figures until he was released on April 2nd. He was then signed by the Spurs again on April 6th. Billy averaged 4 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. They faced Denver in the semifinals, and he had a small role in this series, with his best performance being in Game 5 with 6 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists in a blowout win to advance to the conference finals facing the Lakers. Billy was scoreless in all but 1 game, but the Rockets were beaten in 6. As a free agent, Billy signed with the Hawks at center depth behind Tree Rollins. He only played in 40 games this season, so his best performance was on November 30th against Philly, with 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. The Hawks weren't that good offensively outside of Dominique and Dan Roundfield, but in the weak Eastern Conference, their 40-42 record was enough for a first-round matchup with the Bucks. Billy averaged 2 points and 3 rebounds, and he only saw action in 2 games out of a 5-game series loss to Milwaukee. Billy was a free agent again, and at 36, he knew his career was winding down. He tried taking a job in the production room at an Atlanta news studio, but it was a rough transition, and he realized that he needed to get back in better shape. His former college coach, Lou Carnesecca, convinced Frank Layden that he would be a good addition to the team, so he signed with the Utah Jazz, making the team in training camp. But he was the 4th center behind Mark Eaton, Jeff Wilkins, and Rich Kelly. Minutes were hard to come by, so he only scored 82 total points this season. The Jazz were a team in transition, but their 41-41 record was enough for the playoffs. Billy averaged 1 point and 1.5 rebounds as the Jazz took on the Rockets. In Game 5, Billy came into the game and played great defense on Hakeem Olajuwon. Visibly frustrated, he waited until Billy looked away, then he punched him in the face. Billy didn't retaliate, but the Rockets faltered after this, as Utah won Game 5 to advance to the semifinals against Denver. Billy only saw action in 2 games, as Denver beat the Jazz in 5. Billy retired after this season, as he worked in the printing industry for many years. Billy Paultz was an extremely underrated player, being skilled in so many areas, as he could shoot, pass, rebound, and defend. He wasn't the most mobile center, but he was extremely reliable no matter where he played. He was one of the best players in ABA history, becoming an all-time great, but he was more than effective once he got to the NBA. His skill set was great in any role, and he stuck around for another decade after the merger. His basketball IQ allowed him to succeed, despite his athletic limitations, as he doesn't get enough credit for being consistent and having a positive attitude, which led to him getting lead ride respect. Thank you guys, I really appreciate y'all. I've been wanting to do this Billy Paultz video for months, I'm not gonna lie to you. He reminds me of almost like a Brook Lopez type of player. When he was with the Nets, he had the mid-range shot, he had the post game, he was a decent shot blocker, he was a good rebounder. He's not gonna dominate the box score. He'll be like a guy that would have made like an all-NBA 3rd team maybe. You know, he did all the little things, never did too much, never asked for too much. You know, he always played his role. He knew how to defer to teammates. An overall good guy, a great person. He's just doing simple stuff. I mean, he's running like he has concrete in his feet, but he's still getting around. He's still doing what he needs to do. He's still setting screens. He's still getting over that little 10, 15 foot jump shot. That nice little running hook across the lane. That's almost like a Bob Lanier move. You know, that running hook across the lane. A jack of all trades type of player, but someone who's definitely underrated. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate y'all so much. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button to my channel. Turn my post notifications on if you haven't already. Thank you. Please be safe. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.